Michelle Erickson with Wisconsin Literacy and Wisconsin Health Literacy. And we are going to talk about advocacy and how people can engage about literacy with your state representatives and state senators. Welcome, Senator Johnson. So glad you're here, and thank you again. I know you connected with us last year too, and we're reading your favorite story that you shared with your goddaughter, and it's great to see you back a year later.
Thank you so very much for having me. It's really, really good to be back.
So I wanted to welcome Representative Loudenbeck to our session, speaking up about literacy. Before I started, I wanted to thank you for advocating in the Joint Finance Committee for our work and the work of our members. I'm the one who gets to share all the stories that we receive from people that are so appreciative for those GED vouchers, particularly, and all the materials and resources so that they can get that GED. So I wanted to take this time also to thank you for your work. So thank you.
And really a meaningful part of what I am able to do on the committee.
Yeah, we really appreciate it.
I just want to start out with a really easy question, and just to give our audience a little chance to understand what it is about your job that you like the best, and maybe what led you to serve in this role.
So the thing that I like most about my job is being able to help people. I realized very early on that through politics, you have a platform not only to help more people, but to help them more in-depthly. Sometimes it's just a matter of picking up a phone and making a phone call from my office that can actually get things rolling, where you've had people try for weeks to reach out to certain departments or certain administrations and just have no luck. And one phone call from our office, people are getting phone calls back within 24 hours. The thing that made me want to go into politics were my daycare kid. I was a daycare provider before I got elected to office, and just seeing the struggles, the everyday struggles that my parents were having to endure just to be able to live. A lot of my kids were in daycare for 10 hours or more a day. And at the end of the day, they were still considered low income. So, I realized that if I stayed in daycare, I could only help those kids until they were 12, because after age 12, they were no longer eligible for daycare. But being elected, I could help them for as long as they lived in Wisconsin. And I think that was the thing that motivated me most to run.
I like to be able to puzzle through complex problems, and so I have the opportunity to do that on a regular basis. When I ran, I didn't run as really an advocate for any particular issue. It was more of being interested in policy and believing that I could add value. At the time, it was 2010 when I was first running, so a lot of economic and tax and workforce issues. Some of those things have come full circle, but I've been able to get into even the deeper dive, where when we talk about workforce now and literacy, when I talk to small businesses, this is the ability to read is a basic thing. So kind of getting those linkages between, where are the weak points in our overall framework that we can work to fix, and they're varied and sometimes unexpected. So that's what I enjoy a lot, is really, like I said, puzzling through those things and trying to find real solutions, and then figuring out how to help get the right people together or the right policies in place so that they can actually execute those.
So why should constituents reach out to you or to their representative? How does that add value to your work or help you do your job?
Well, so when I look back at this year, certainly we've had probably the most constituent contacts would have been about people trying to get help with their unemployment claims. And so while we don't actually do intake or file anything or make any decisions in the office, we can kind of triage with the agency, make sure people's paperwork doesn't fall through the cracks. And I could kind of pick up on that same argument. And so say somebody has a DNR permit that's taking a little longer than they expected, or have an issue with another state agency, we can be that liaison and work with our counterparts, our legislative liaison counterparts there. So that's, that's a big part of what staff does, is just, and then we also are a resource, and kind of, if people just kind of want to know the next place to go or where to find information, always happy to do that. Then we also get input on specific pieces of legislation or specific policies. And that can range from and that doesn't even just necessarily line up with the legislative calendar or the budget. I mean, it's something that happens on a regular basis, but certainly it's more intense during budget times, or when bigger packages of bills are going through that people might read about or want to make sure they let me know. So picking up the phone or just sending an email or a letter, they can either just express their opinion, or sometimes they want a response or want to know if I have a position on things. But really, we try to be, no wrong door. I mean, sometimes we turn over to our federal partners, or local, and like local issues or school board issues or tech college issues, but we do try to get people the information that they need and are a resource in that respect.
The reason that they should reach out to their elected officials is because we're not the experts. We're not the experts on anything. Let's just be honest. And a lot of times, if we don't get that input from the community, or the community calling us with their issues or with their problem, we don't know that they exist. We don't know that there are problems in the areas that they're experiencing. So having them reach out to tell us what their issues are, to tell us, in most cases, the solutions to what they feel, they feel those issues can be addressed, is extremely important, because it's not always the elected officials with the answer. The answers come from the community.
I know sometimes we encourage a lot of our member literacy agencies to reach out to the representatives and senators, and they're included in event invitations and so forth, or just to come by and visit and see the amazing work that's going on at the local level. But sometimes I think people too feel like going to see you at the Capitol is a little bit more of a stretch or an adventure, or something they might be less, they may be more reluctant to do. And can you share, now you mentioned about just calling your office and getting a response within 24 hours, but what are some of the other ways that that people can actually, connect with you face to face, either at the Capitol or in your district?
So, we offer town halls, but we also, a phone call works, an email definitely works, a letter works. So in the state capitol, we have a system called Forward, and Forward is where we input the information anytime there's a contact made to our office. So for example, if there is a specific topic coming up or a specific bill, one of the first things that I do, and I'm sure a lot of the other electeds do too, is to check Forward to find out how many people have contacted us regarding that issue. If it's important, if it's contentious, we check those things. And, sometimes you may not always be able to speak directly to me, but addressing those issues and concerns to my staff is just equally as important, because they are the ones that brief us on, what's being said, how this legislation will impact people, or, just what people want to see done. So that's extremely, extremely important. Knowing who your legislature is extremely important as well too.
So where to start, I would say there's a website. So assuming people are watching this, that means they probably have the internet. So if you go to legis.wi.gov, that's where you can go in and you can enter in your address, and then it'll give you it'll pull up your property, put a little pin on the map and show you your senator and your representative and the email and phone number. And then after that, it's really what's comfortable for you. If you want to call to set up a meeting, or call to just say, hey, I support literacy in the budget, and just be kind of one and done, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. If you want an email and share a story of a client or someone that you know with regards to literacy, or even anything else, whether it's healthcare, education, if there's a longer narrative that you want to share, an email is fine too. As far as managing expectations, if you want a meeting, we're happy to do that. Sometimes it just may end up being with staff, and I would argue that Michelle Erickson would say that my staff is top notch, and meeting with them, they are just an extension of myself. And we try to do that just to make sure that people don't have to wait, and we can make sure that we're not canceling meetings. So sometimes we'll just say the meeting might be with staff and maybe it's with me, but especially during the budget when we have so many obligations, we would just be at a standstill for months practically if everyone were waiting for their half an hour with one-on-one with me, when a lot of times I'm going to have a staffer in there anyway, and really making sure that we have all the correct follow-up and everything. So so you can email or call with a request for a meeting or just with some information. I would say that sometimes sharing and asking if any more information is needed is helpful. Sometimes it's difficult for me to answer 10 questions or to really do a real specific response to every email. And I will tell you, I do read all mine. If it's advocating for a bill and I get 10 of the same ones, 10 people are going to get the same answer. If it's a one-off, I'm still going to read it and craft a response. But the more complex it is, the more difficult it makes it for me to get to it in a timely fashion so just managing expectations, I think, is important. But also, if you just want to share your views, so Facebook messaging is not my preferred way of contacting me. If you do a Facebook message, you're going to get a pop back that says, please call or email. Just with open records, with everything, it just needs to, we kind of like to really channel it through those main areas. And then of course, regular mail, snail mail is fine. It just takes a little longer, but it's absolutely appropriate.
And I think I just want to share how incredible the staff that the senators and representatives have working with them are in terms of conveying information, as well as just, spending some time with you that the senator or representative might not have, and being able to go a little bit more in depth with your issue, how you might approach it, and also the ability to meet with other staff and other legislative offices. So can you talk a little bit about your staff in terms of how they work to promote the issues that come to you or to your office, and work with other legislative offices as well?
So my staff is amazing, and there are a lot of amazing staff members in that building. My staff, they are the first individuals that I consult when it comes to legislation or how to take a vote. And even in the period of trying to draft legislation, they are the first people that I consult. So once a week, me and my staff, we sit around the table and we talk about the issues that are coming up on the calendar, or any visits that I may have had in the office that I wasn't able to attend. And in most cases, in many cases, it is the staff who's bringing a problem to my attention. And that lets me know that these issues need to be addressed. But it's also a lot of times the staff saying, I think we can do something about this issue. I think we can draft legislation around this issue. So talking to the staff is extremely, extremely important, because in some cases, as an elected official, I'll be honest and say that when it comes to really, really important meetings, I don't feel comfortable having those meetings without my staff being there, because they're trusted just that much on their opinion and their thoughts and what needs to be done to address those issues. So in most cases, meeting with the staff is just as important, if not more important, than meeting with the actual legislator.
Thank you for that, because I know that sometimes people feel it's hard to actually have that one-to-one with a senator or representative. And I have found in my experience in advocating that the staff have really helped me navigate, and also helped me navigate other offices they know about that are also working on a similar issue that I wouldn't have known about and can reach out to. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, particularly is Michelle wanted me to thank you for that you visited a Milwaukee literacy program, I think a number of years ago. And so kind of the question we wanted to put out there is like, how would a literacy agency set up a program visit with their representatives? And is like Zoom, is that a possibility? Because some of these classes are now taking place even on Zoom. So would it be possible to like set up a class and say to the local representatives, hey, you could join our class and kind of see how it's going with the online digital components. So I guess that was kind of a long question, but
Right. And I think that's a great idea. I remember going on that Milwaukee day. I remember I took a staffer with me. We went to a couple different sites, but it takes a little bit of time to set up. Where sometimes if you've got regular classes taking place, and you can just let the legislator choose, and even if they can pop in for a short time period or a longer time period, I think that makes it really. And that's your platform for delivery, where sometimes, it's difficult to do a tour on Zoom, but if the class is online and they're just kind of auditing it, I think that's a great idea. I think that would be really neat for me to do. And I think that keeping it, again, face to face, and it's just been different with COVID, but some things with Zoom, it just saves time for everyone. And, as far as ease of setting that up, I think that would be a great idea. Or if people wanted to set up a tour with their legislators. For me, a lot of times Mondays and Fridays, I like to set up days in district, because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday are a lot of committee meetings. Other members may be a little bit different, but kind of try to, like, if I have something in Janesville on a Friday, then I'll kind of look back in my calendar and say, oh, I have all these kind of Janesville things pending. So rather than bouncing back and forth, because I have 21 different local units of government in my district.
Well, again, we just want to thank you for your service to the state of Wisconsin and to your district, and for all the work that you've done, and your passion about literacy and championing this really important issue, to read early and often to kids, and to continue, being lifelong learners as adults. And that's really at the heart of our work as well. So thank you again for your support of literacy, and being a part of this Journey Through Literacy event.
Even if somebody's looking for if somebody's watching this and saying, well, there's really nothing that's on my mind right now, but you know what, go home, take the time, go to this Legis site, look up the information, and pop a note to your senator or representative and just say, hey, I want to let you know that the increased funding for literacy in the budget was really important to me, and I'm glad to see that went through. And then then you actually have a record, and there's that first touch, where it's not a big ask, it's not a hard question, just that soft, first contact, I think would be more than welcomed by me or any of my colleagues. So just a thought.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much for all the work that you do. It's so important to my community and to the state to make sure, I know for myself, as a kid who grew up in poverty, and I'm talking about extreme poverty, no indoor plumbing in my home. The one thing that helped to rescue me out of that condition was education and literacy. Education can change a child's life. So thank you for what you do.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing with us today, Senator Johnson. Be well and take care.
Thank you. You too.
I really appreciate you taking this time out to talk to us.
Thank you, Liz. Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye.